Welcome back, everybody, to yet another edition of the Sports Frenzy podcast. Phil Penarski here, joined as always by our News 8 sports correspondents, Dean Holzwarth and Andy McDonald. Gentlemen, we've got quite a bit to go over once again today, namely being the Detroit Lions making a move kind of ahead of the free agency period. We'll get into that, as well as maybe what we'd like to see them do at the start of free agency. Also going to be talking some Tigers baseball. Yes, baseball will be here before we know it. Spring training already underway. The World Baseball Classic about to get underway. We'll be tackling all of that stuff, including what the Tigers have been up to down in Florida as well. But we do want to start off with kind of the big sports focus right now, and that has to do with the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and really their trade deadline. Their trade deadline is set for Friday of this week. The Red Wings have kind of slipped in the standings a little bit recently, but are still in a pretty good spot right now to make the playoffs, kind of, again, leading to the fans and the team to really think that maybe there will be some big moves made at the trade deadline. That was kind of the opposite of what we saw last year, where we saw no real big moves, if any moves at all, really, and kind of led to the Red Wings once again missing out on the playoffs. Let's talk just right off the bat about Friday. Will the Red Wings be making a move this year, this time around?
I think this has to be it. I mean, if they don't do it, they're definitely going to hear it from the fan base, because I don't know what else they need to do to prove that this is the year that they are better and they're grown up. Like a lot of these players that we've been watching for years that have been coming up the system have become better and just become NHL players. Like their top six forwards are pretty good right now. Obviously their lines move around all the time, but the top six guys you'd think of in this team, like DeBrincat, Kane, Larkin, Raymond, obviously Mo Seider's one of the best defensemen in the league, Simon Edvinsson. And when he was out, we saw how much of a struggle that was for the Red Wings. So they have a lot of core pieces in place that are really important on this team. I think this is the year that you have to go make a move. I think on the blue line, it's pretty clear that's where the Red Wings need the most help. I don't think it's really a question. If they could pair somebody else that was to the level of Mo Seider. I mean, people do consider Seider to be one of the best, if not the best, defenseman outside of Callum McCarr in the NHL. So it's pretty tough to get that good. But there's a lot of names getting floated around. I think Zach Werenski is the most interesting one for a lot of Red Wings fans, just because obviously he has a lot of ties here to Michigan. He knows Larkin. He played with Larkin at Michigan. So that's the guy that I would ideally like to see them go make a push for. And obviously you'd have to give up a lot to do it, but the Red Wings have the players in place to do it. I mean, they have what they've done down here in Grand Rapids has been phenomenal. They obviously, it's very interesting right now with Sebastian Cossa. He got called up today under emergency conditions to Detroit. That's just to back up Cam Talbot, because apparently Gibson sustained a stinger to his shoulder the other day. I'm guessing they're just giving him rest. But that's a guy you got to wonder with Trey Augustine, finishing up the season here at Michigan State soon, if he's going to come to Grand Rapids. Will they look to trade him? Will they look to trade maybe some of the forwards that they have down here that kind of haven't been moving around at all, or have kind of been blocked from getting to the NHL level because of how they've been playing at the NHL level this year? I don't know. There's not really anybody that's untouchable for me when it comes to draft picks and people they can give away. I'm almost good with Andy. I think the only person I wouldn't give away is probably Carter Bear, the most recent draft pick they just have. He just got Player of the Month in the WHL recently, and he's scored, I think, 13 goals in his last 12 games. I mean, he looks like a heck of a prospect. So I would probably hang on to him, or you'd have to get something, maybe if it was Carter Bear and one draft pick for Zach Werenski, I'd probably do something like that. But yeah, I think they need help in the blue line, and I don't think there's really much that a lot of these guys in Grand Rapids, the community's come to love them because they've been here for a good amount of time. A lot of these guys have been developing, and it's been cool to see them turn into whatever. So I understand it's hard to let go of, but if Steve Yzerman is going to make a trade that helps his team the deadline, can't imagine a better year to do it than right now, and I don't think they should be holding anything back to do it. This is the time to do it before Friday.
Yeah, definitely agree, Andy. I think you have to get better, right? You have to get, just plug some pieces in there, add some depth or whatever you can be to try to make that push for the playoffs. I like the Urensky thing. I think he would definitely help energize this team a little bit, because it's a long season, right? You had the Olympic break, so now you got to make that push, right? All Red Wings fans, Detroit fans want to see that playoff drought come to an end. So they have to do something, like you said, Andy. Otherwise, fans are going, they're going to hear it from the fans. fans if you don't make some type of move to improve this team or at least continue this team on the consistent path.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, Tyler Myers was the other name that a lot of people were floating around. He's a veteran defenseman. That was going to be like maybe the cheaper end that the Red Wings were maybe going to get somebody. Everybody's saying he's going to Dallas now, and it looks like Dallas had to give up a second round and a fourth round pick and cover a bunch of money over there in St. Louis. I'm pretty happy the Red Wings didn't give up that kind of trade for that. I don't want that. I want to be clear that I don't want them to do something dumb that just is for somebody that they're overpaying for like way too much. But if it's a name like Zach Werenski, I think you got to overpay for it if it gets him here, because that's going to take them from just being a team that maybe makes the playoffs to a team that can win a couple series and compete for something.
Yeah. Right. Well, that was going to be kind of my question. Obviously last year there was uproar. I mean, even in the end of year press conferences, people were asking, Steve Yzerman, why didn't you make any moves? And there was that quote from Patrick Kane, who also kind of made reference like, hey, we kind of thought that we'd be getting some reinforcements here at the trade deadline that didn't happen. But going forward into this, we can all agree that maybe that there needs to be a move going in to the deadline now for the Red Wings. But I mean, how big of a move does it really have to be specifically for this team going into this year? I know there would be great to add as many all-star quality guys or guys who just played in the Olympics and everything like that. But really, how big of a move do we expect the Red Wings to take, or kind of would like to see the Red Wings take?
I think you don't want to mess with chemistry necessarily, right?
That too.
You got to bring in a guy who is going to fit in and do the things necessary for them to continue winning. So I don't think they have to make a major move, but they have to do something. But like we just talked about, I think if you bring a guy in like Zach, I think his name alone, and the Michigan ties and just won a USA gold medal for the USA. I think that would be a name that everybody would recognize. But yeah, just somebody who's going to fit in and help this team, like I said, continue to win and try to compete in the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think you just gotta. I think at the end of the day, people want to see the upgrade in the blue line, but they also would want to see some kind of a move for offense, maybe a little bit more scoring, somebody's a little bit more chippy on one of the wings, because they don't really have that right now. They don't have a lot of physical players on their offensive side. So there's like a couple needs for this team that it seems like to make them a lot better. I mean, the Red Wings are one of the worst teams in 5-on-5 hockey in the NHL right now, despite their records. So there's clear improvements that need to happen to make them better offensively, and I just think a player of the caliber of Zach Werenski would make them so much better to move the puck around on the power play and in 5-on-5 as well. So just imagining him paired with Edmondson or Sider. I mean, that just takes this team from that level to something. But yeah, no matter what, you're going to see a move. I don't think you're going to get through Friday without some kind of move being made. I just don't last year. It was a 35-year-old center from Chicago that nobody knew who he was. I mean, that's not going to be acceptable for people this year. There's a few names out there that are floated around. Steve Yzerman has done such a good job keeping all this under wraps from what he's actually doing all these years that he's been there, unless he's just doing nothing. So it's hard to say who he's actually talking to or what he's getting in, because the Red Wings, there's always so many insiders saying they're mentioned on this or they're mentioned on that. I think we just have to wait to see what happens, but I think you can expect something a little bit bigger this year, because he has to know it. I mean, at some point, you have to take this group to the next level. I can't imagine there's gonna be a lot of support behind him if they don't do much, and then they have another disastrous March. I don't think Steve is willing to risk that right now.
Right. Well, and I think no matter what happens, to kind of end this regular season, if the Red Wings happen to not make the playoffs, this is going to be, again, the first thing that fans, people who cover the team itself, that they're all going to be focusing on, that once again, we kind of failed to live up to expectations or do anything at the trade deadline.
And we've talked about it. The guys in that room, like Larkin and Kane and stuff, especially Larkin just getting this taste of winning with the USA gold. Right. I think there's going to be a bunch of them getting honored. Kane's getting honored for his points tonight, and we're recording this on Wednesday before the game. And then Larkin's getting honored for the gold. If they don't do something, those guys in that room are going to feel it again this year. Where's the support? Because again, it's not tied together directly with the Illich, where he spends his money at when it goes. But we've seen him spend for the Tigers. I just find it hard to believe that if this team is ready, and with a guy like Steve Yzerman of how he's thought of, and that organization with how much money he has now forked out to the Tigers, I can't imagine that he's not willing to pay for somebody if Steve thinks that it's worth it. So it's up to him what he wants to do with the organization at this point and where he wants to move it around, if you ask me. And I think we'll see. It'll be really telling by this Friday. That's for sure.
Yeah, we don't want this to be a Lions situation where they don't upgrade and then maybe miss the playoffs.
Right.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? We don't want to go through that again.
You can't just always rely on your guys. I think there's a couple teams in the city of Detroit right now that are figuring that out. But right now you got to try to add somebody to take you to the next level, and hopefully they do that.
Well, hopefully we have some big trades to talk about in next week's episode. Again, the trade deadline in the NHL is set for this Friday. We'll be breaking everything down coming up in next week's episode. Let's move on, though, because there are some trades to get to in the NFL, especially with the Detroit Lions. We got news earlier this week that David Montgomery, the running back for the Detroit Lions, is now headed to the Houston Texans. That trade has not been made official yet, as free agency is, of course, getting set for Monday, but that is what we can report now. David Montgomery headed to Houston for guard Juice Scruggs from the Houston Texans, and the Lions will also get a 4th-round pick in exchange for Montgomery in this year's draft and a 7th-round pick in next year's draft. Just initial thoughts, guys, to hearing this trade. When you got the notification that David Montgomery was kind of one on the trading block, but 2 already kind of heading to Houston. I mean, what really kind of came to mind for you guys?
I mean, I thought fake news at first because, it came out and then he said, Demo came out with a tweet that said, who told you that or who said that kind of thing. So I actually think it was going to happen. I really liked him. I like David Montgomery. I thought he provided a very good 1-2 punch for the Lions with Gibbs. Right. Obviously, his carries and his production had decreased a little bit with Gibbs kind of having the breakout season that he did last year. But I think the Lions got more back from him than people expected that they would, right? I think they maybe thought they might get a 5th or just 1 pick, but they got 2 picks and a country music rapper, that's kind of the way his name sounds, but yeah, it's something that I think, we'll see what the Lions do now, because they don't really have a backup now behind Gibbs, and to me, you can't give him all the workload going into the season, so we'll see what they do, in free agency and hopefully get a very capable, backup for Gibbs.
Right. Yeah, I'm split on it a little bit. I do truly think he liked being in the city of Detroit and he liked playing here. I always have that story about Dave Montgomery. There's a place called Iggy's Aggies in Detroit. It's like a breakfast sandwich walk-up window, and I was staying there before a game. Walked up and he's just standing outside of it. I was walking up and I said to the person I was with, I was like, that's David Montgomery right there. And he was just like casually talking to people like right outside of it. It was pretty crazy.
Before the game?
No, this is like not before a Lions game.
Oh, yeah, right.
This is like in the summer. Yeah. For like in the summer, right? He doesn't have to be there. Like he doesn't have to live there. I truly think that he did mean what he said about loving the community. Obviously that helps me kind of further prove my point. But I think that he truly meant what he said because he did seem to like embody that and really take it on. And obviously he read in his note, like he said a bunch of stuff about how this city really welcomed him and like took him in for the first time in his life from a lot of different places he played. I think he meant a lot of that, but also he was complaining a little bit when he wasn't getting the amount of carries, and there were some comments that kind of made it seem like he wanted to get out too. So I'm like split on how I actually feel about it. At the end of the day, these guys want to make money and they want to play. So I don't think he like hates going to Houston just because he may have a better opportunity to play there. And I wish the best for him going forward. But yeah, with the Lions, this is one of those things where I don't mind the trade because of what they got back for it. I do like the fact that they got draft picks and the fact they were able to get a 4th instead of the 5th there last minute and stuff like that. I think that all bodes well for them. I think the rest of the offseason is where I'm more concerned because I feel like this was the problem we kind of talked about last year with the Lions is that they started to get a little greedy with Jahmyr Gibbs and just tried to play him all the time. He's simply not as good as David Montgomery between the tackles, and the people that say that, I don't know what game they're watching. The Lions obviously didn't have the offensive line that they had, in the years past, but that's also a problem because of everything else that's kind of come out now. I'm sure you guys have seen the comments from the combine with saying that the Lions aren't expected to do a lot in free agency. Obviously, we don't know how true that is, and then also that Tate Rowledge is likely to move to center, and they're going to have open tryouts for guard positions. Both those things scare me a lot with like this kind of move, and then they're talking about paying guys like Gibbs and Laporta and all them ahead of time. This is where we kind of just hinted at it a little bit in the last segment with getting too involved with your own guys. I feel like they need to shore up other positions on this team that they may not have, that they had weaknesses on last year instead of paying Jahmyr Gibbs 3 years early or paying Sam Laporta way early. Like, I don't know. Those seem like bigger problems to me than David Montgomery getting traded or what they got back in general. But at the end of the day, losing David Montgomery does just suck from a fan standpoint.
Yeah.
I think you don't like having.
He was a fan favorite.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
like he was great here, and it sucks that they you're always going to go back to those 2 years. You're going to go back to San Francisco when they lost in the NFC Championship game. You're going to go back to 15-2 and losing in the first round because those teams were different. And it feels like they could have probably done something special then, but obviously they got to move on and try to make it different now, and we'll see how they're able to do that.
Yeah, right. Well, and obviously, like you both have said, it's sad to see him go because it was funny, Sonic and Knuckles, that nickname, and it kind of took off. And when the Lions were winning and they both were getting the amount of touches that they were kind of used to getting and kind of splitting up time in the backfield, I mean, I felt like it made the offense a little bit more dynamic. And then we kind of saw it as the Lions kind of, fell a little bit last year. It became the Jahmyr Gibbs show. And Jahmyr Gibbs is great. We love Jahmyr Gibbs. But again, I feel like them kind of shifting that focus a little bit more towards him and less away from David Montgomery. I mean, and now trading him, I mean, that kind of goes to show maybe what this Lions team is maybe more focused on the offensive side of the ball, maybe just spreading the ball out a little bit more, getting out on the edges and trying to hit home runs as many times as they can.
Yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs is a great running back. There's no question about that. I mean, his speed is unquestioned, his ability in the open field is unquestioned. It's just at the end of the day, I think we saw him and Jared Goff both take a hit when the offensive line couldn't really make a difference. Like, if Goff doesn't have the play action, it hurts him. If I feel like when they tried to play Gibbs too much and people knew what was coming, if the play action wasn't effective, it hurt them. Because why? They just didn't have the push up front that they've had. So as good as he is, I feel like you still need to make improvements to your offensive line this offseason before it's really going to make that big of a difference. And then also we need to see who their second running back they end up bringing in here is, if they do it through free agency, if they do it through the draft. There's obviously a couple names I'm sure we'll get more into here as the offseason goes along. But yeah, I think you hit it exactly in the head, Phil. When they played both running backs, it made them more dynamic, and I don't know why they went away from it last year. I feel like when Montgomery did get the limited carries that he got, he was still doing good. Maybe Brad Holmes whispered down and said something like, "Hey, we're gonna trade him this offseason," when the season was kind of getting out of reach. Who knows what it was, because it didn't make any sense to me why they stopped playing him and kind of going away from their identity. But yeah, it's I think we do like Jahmyr Gibbs. I think we just I think there's still a lot of problems with this team outside of Jahmyr Gibbs that they should be looking at, is what I'm trying to get at.
Right, and I think part of the reason they kind of kept leaning on Jahmyr was because he had some really big games.
Yeah,
right?
Oh, absolutely.
A couple 3 touchdown games, 150, 160 yards he was racking up there every other week. So I think he was giving some big games, so they expected that every week, right? And the teams adjusted a little bit, and I think with the 1-2 punch, it kind of wore other teams down, right? And they got fatigued, and you had a guy running between the tackles, you had a guy running outside. So yeah, I agree with Phil too. They made him more dynamic, it made him more not so one-dimensional as far as the running back position goes.
Well, and obviously it'd be cool to see Jahmyr Gibbs out there every single play and having 100% stamina to deal with all the plays and everything that he's doing. But that's just not the case. So again, that kind of begs the question for the two of you: just who would you like to see maybe come into Honolulu Blue and maybe back up Jahmyr? And just would you rather than maybe tackle that through free agency or maybe even through the draft? I mean, there are a couple of names, especially in the later first round and even in the later rounds, that they could maybe pick up in the draft.
I don't know. Who's being released soon?
Nick Chubb from Houston would
Aaron
be one.
Jones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Aaron
and,
Jones, yeah.
Aaron Jones.
James Conner is a possibility, but that'd be a more expensive one, probably.
It would be a more expensive one.
Somebody would probably pay up for that.
Someone with some experience, right, and who can accept that role as being backup to Jahmyr,
right,
and just kind of going in there and doing what the Lions need, getting some extra yards, getting some first downs, just doing what they can to help the ground game.
I'm forgetting Tyler Algier. That's the other one too that I was kind of thinking about. The Falcons. He may not be getting signed back, and he's like a power kind of back that can do the same kind of thing. Let's be clear. What David Montgomery did, in my mind, either is not irreplaceable.
Right.
If they had the line up front, I think they could do it with a lot of different people. I think they should attack it in the draft, and I think that I would rather have more veteran offensive linemen up front.
Right.
And they go out and get, I'm forgetting the name of Baltimore's center, who is obviously I think he's going to be a free agent here. I'm forgetting his name right now, but that was one that I've been hearing the name of a lot this week, and he's a veteran and been around for a while. Obviously, all the changes they've had over there in Baltimore.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool to see that open up. Katron Allen is the name that I'm thinking of in the draft that I'd be kind of targeting at some point. I think can maybe get that in the middling round to draft him, because I think his comparison is like Tyler Algier. And I think that would be a good pick that they could have for cheaper for a lot longer under team control. But yeah, I mean, I was kind of looking at it while you were talking there, Dings. I was thinking to myself, some of those games last year, you said he had some of those big games, and then he had some of the low games too. I mean, end of the season against Dallas, he had had 12 carries for 43 yards. The Rams, 13 carries for 38 yards. The Steelers, 7 carries for 2 yards. I mean, there was games where he was limited when people started to expect what he was going to do on the field. So,
and that was more offensive line struggles too, a little bit.
Exactly.
Too, right?
There was all
a little bit of both.
The injuries added up there. Taylor Decker wasn't playing at that point, so you basically were down to Penei Sewell was like your one guy worth anything up there on the offensive line. So.
Right. And Dan Campbell was calling the plays.
Yeah.
So who's he calling the plays for all the time?
Gibbs. And yeah, there was a lot of things that were wrong with it, but that's just my point. Like, he is a great running back. He still needs people around him to be good to be that great. So that's just they don't make Barry Sanders every day, you know. And I feel like some people got a little in over their head with thinking that he was that good, and like I feel like you still got to have an effective offense for it to work as well as it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tyler Linderbaum is the name you were thinking of.
Yes,
yeah.
there we go.
And I completely agree. I think that is maybe what the line should be kind of looking at, is maybe attacking that backup running back situation in the draft, where you can, maybe save some cap space a little bit, and then with the money that you're saving from trading David Montgomery, maybe kind of transfer that, utilize that to again shore up that offensive line that we all I've talked about ad nauseum at this point, that needs a lot of help going into this upcoming season.
No question about it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, let's finish talking about the lines again. Free agency opens up on Monday. We'll have the latest, if any trades are made again as well there. But let's talk about some baseball now. It feels so great to finally be talking about baseball a little bit more, as spring training is now underway. It's warmer out. The sun is shining. It feels great out. Let's talk a little bit about one name in particular for the Tigers that we've talked a little bit about with the Whitecaps in past episodes, and that is Kevin McGonigal. Of course, the Tigers took on the Dominican Republic team ahead of the World Baseball Classic on Tuesday. Tigers lost that one 12-4, but the score doesn't really matter because Kevin McGonigal had an incredible game. He reached base safely on all 4 of his at-bats. He had a lead-off home run to kick things off. He had a 2-run single. I mean, just making plays all over the place. And we've seen it, I mean, again, with the Whitecaps, and just talking about how great he was and how he's ready to take that next step. After seeing what he's been able to do this spring, are you a little bit more confident that he's going to be that first guy jumping up to the majors in that great class of prospects for the Tigers?
I don't think there's a question right now that he should be making the team out of camp. I don't know if there's a better. This is kind of sad to say because it's still the one issue that that scares everybody with their team. But he may be the best contact hitter on that roster if he makes the team. Honestly, we watched him a lot here in West Michigan. I covered a lot of games last summer. He was an absolute riot to watch. When he went up to Double-A, he only did the same thing. Now the big concern I think for the Tigers organization, obviously this has always been a thing with them, is if they're going to lose service time and stuff like that, and then have to pay him sooner and everything. That shouldn't matter right now. With how much they've went all in for this, and they didn't sign any bats or any major guys that are going to move people around, make contact, and hit the ball as hard as he does, I feel like you have to give him the chance of the spring he's having, unless he significantly drops off here before the end of the spring. I mean, what was it, 450-something feet last night, and it came off at 110 miles an hour.
Was 7th longest home run in Tigers history. I saw something,
and it was off
crazy
good pitching too. I mean, the Dominican Republic, right? And I mean, you said the score doesn't matter. I mean, what, Brant Herter and Ty Madden pitching against Juan Soto? Yeah, I don't think that
forgot how stacked that lineup was.
Yeah, it was crazy looking at that. Those guys probably looked at that lineup and were like, "Oh my gosh, we have to go out here tonight and pitch." But yeah, overall, we were seeing from McGonigal is just. It's so positive because I think we've known he's this good, and I think the most interesting thing that I heard, the whole gap between not playing in AAA, because obviously he would not log a game in AAA if he does make the roster before getting his major league debut. 15% of prospects that are in the top 100 there's only 15% of them have made the jump from AA straight to the big leagues by opening day. Of that 15%, most of them have turned out to not just be good, but be superstars. We're talking Manny Machado, Aaron Judge, some of those guys. Yeah. That is who has made that jump and turned out to be that good. And I don't want to get people that excited about it, but the facts are the facts, and this kid can hit. I mean, he can hit the ball. So,
and that's what the Tigers need.
That's what they need. So I think right now with the way that he's playing, it's impossible. I mean, you can tell he's vibing in the clubhouse. I don't know if you saw AJ Hinch's comment about how, before the game, they said we're going to hit Kevin lead off, and I have a feeling that he's going to hit something hard to start the game. And then he did that first pitch. So he's vibing with all these guys right now. He's feeling it. You can tell when he's playing. Obviously, the defense is the concern, but there's a lot of time to work on that, and they have some guys in that program that can help him do that. So I don't know if you have any different opinions, but I can't imagine he doesn't make the team right now.
No, I'm not going to go oppo with you. I saw his defense. Obviously, I worked for the Whitecaps, so I saw saw lots of games, and he actually played defense really well at times.
Yeah, he's turning double plays right now in spring training too.
I think the biggest thing was, we all looked at him going into the spring training, and like he needed to prove that he could make the opening day roster, and he's done exactly that. Just hitting for average like he did in West Michigan, hitting for contact. He's probably, like you said, one of the Tigers' most pure hitters. Just a sweet swing, and that's what they're going to need. So I wouldn't be surprised. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that he starts opening day.
Really? I don't remember the last. Yeah, I think so too. But I don't think that there's been a prospect in my lifetime that people have talked about like this that is like going to make the team and is supposed to be like this guaranteed good by a lot of people that watch the game like this close. Yeah. So I just can't imagine. And one more person to throw in that 15% of people that have made the jump that we've talked about a lot the last couple of years, Alex Bregman. He didn't play any games in AAA before he made the jump to go to the major league. So it's a lot of those guys that are pure hitters. He just fills like that boat. Like if you watch him play and watch his swing, it's exactly what you want. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, and I was what we've talked about with him is that he is that hitter that I feel like the Tigers lineup desperately needs, and we've kind of been seeing it so far this spring. I mean, so far the Tigers have only won 2 games. Those were against the Rays and Phillies, and they've been struggling. A lot of ties, a lot of losses right now. I mean, is there really a cause for concern going into opening day though, or again, it's just kind of spring baseball sort of feeling right now for the Tigers?
Spring baseball.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many years when they were bad, they would like go 8-0 to start spring training. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like preseason football, right?
Yeah,
we talked about this. Like, it doesn't really matter. And look at some of their lineups. They're not playing some of the Tigers' everyday players.
Right.
Yeah. And they're not putting them out there. So it doesn't really matter. They're just getting some of these young guys, some at-bats, getting some pitchers out there, a few innings or whatever the case may be. So, yeah, they're just getting them ready for the season, and they're not going to try to push them too hard. So no concerns whatsoever. They could lose the rest of their games. I don't care.
I think you could argue baseball is like the most unrealistic too to like what it actually is like, because a lot of pitchers go out there and try to throw pitches that they are trying to shape and get right. Like they tell them like throw that pitch over and over again, even if you're getting slammed, because it doesn't matter. We just want to see what you can do with it, and if it can keep hitters off balance, and whatever. Obviously, guys like Tarek Skubal and the bona fide starters, they're going to come out there and just throw their innings. Like that's it, unless they're working on a pitch too. But it's probably going to be a little more discreet. Like a lot of these guys that are trying to make the team, that they throw out there to start a game, they're just throwing pitches that they're told to try, and they're trying to make them be better this year by throwing that pitch. So it's always very skewed numbers, and that's like obviously why the McGonigal stuff, we need to keep that like all into perspective that this is this level. I think the reason I have so much confidence is just because of what he's done at the other 2 levels from all of last season, and I just don't think that, I think it's a waste of time to keep him down this year.
Yeah, the optics are really good with him.
Yeah,
you can see that he's a very
like
good
he's
player.
A hitter. Yeah, exactly. Like obviously the injuries are a little scary too. He's had problems with that, but other than that, I just don't see there being a way that he doesn't hit. Maybe the pressure, but. I think you have to try it right now in Detroit. I don't know why you wouldn't.
Rookie of the year.
Right. Well, imagine how much fun it would be being there at opening day and seeing him on that opening day roster.
I'll be asking Jack Doles about that. Hopefully, I'll be able to make the trip down there. We'll see.
All right. Well, let's end on kind of a fun topic. We've just got a few minutes left, guys. But ESPN recently came out with their top 100 players in Major League Baseball going into this season. And Tarek Skubal ranked in at number 4. He was behind Shohei Ohtani at number 1. Aaron Judge was number 2, and then Bobby Witt Jr. for the Kansas City Royals was in at number 3. Do we guys feel like that's a pretty fair ranking? Only 2 other Tigers made that top 100. That was Riley Green at 49 and Framber Valdez at 65.
Yeah, I mean, that doesn't really surprise me. I think everybody's kind of excited to see what you're going to get from Framber Valdez, that's for sure, because obviously the end of last year was not good for him, but he's obviously thought of as a player that high in the rankings and stuff, and I think that they're pretty fairly ranked. I think that's the biggest question, I think, for Detroit is just their position players. Like that's not seeing as many guys like in the top 100 in a lot of those rankings, kind of scary. So that's the one thing I think you'd like to see a little bit more of here in the future is maybe guys like Riley and Torque make a step this year to be a little bit better and be thought of a little bit higher at their positions throughout the whole league. But yeah, for the most part, that's what you would expect, and obviously Tarek's going to be towards the top of that list.
Right. Yeah, and he's the top pitcher in that list. Ohtani, whatever. Dual threat there.
Ohtani's the best player in baseball.
Yeah, there's no arguing that.
There's not a question about it.
Who was the second Tiger?
Riley Green at 49.
Yeah.
Okay, Riley Green.
And rally strikeouts are the issue, and we're going to talk about it all year. But I mean, he had 116 RBIs, I believe, or 111 RBIs,
Yeah, he still
and 36
put up really
home runs.
good numbers.
Great numbers. I mean,
Yeah.
like those are the highest in his career. Like I think people forget how young guys like him and Torkelson still really are, because they got forced up so early in their careers that it's like we've already seen them for what, 4 or 5 years now. It's just like I think people need to take a second and realize that maybe they could still get into their prime and be even better. So Green did say he wanted to work on his walks this year. In a lot of these games he's been playing in, he's been averaging at least a walk. So
Good.
I think that's good. You can see him watching pitches again. I think he was a little bit too swing happy last year. That's obviously the biggest thing with him. Just don't strike out 200 times and lead the league in strikeouts, and it'll be better.
Absolutely. All right, well, great stuff, guys. As always, again, we are going to be keeping a close eye on all the sports happenings across the state of Michigan and across the nation as well. Again, we've got the World Baseball Classic coming up on Friday, so a lot of excitement building around that. NHL hockey. The NFL draft will be here around the corner before we know it. So much going on right now.
Michigan State on Sunday.
Yeah,
Yes,
Michigan
don't forget
State. We
that.
didn't even have time to talk about it. That's just how busy things are.
Big Ten champs.
Michigan obviously won the Big Ten outright too,
Yep,
so
absolutely.
that's pretty cool for them. I think everybody's excited for the Big Ten tournament coming
March
up
Madness.
and
Yep.
March Madness.
We made it to March. March is when everything starts happening. We're so very excited about it.